Welcome back, you lot. It's time for a little cheeky update. Now, this is not an update I was particularly expecting, but it is one that I'm kind of excited about because you'll remember some time ago, was it like 2 weeks? I don't even know when I put this video out. Hang on, let me check.
It's got what it takes.
Oh dear God, it was the 23rd of December. That feels like a long time ago. Anyway, you'll remember I talked about some exterminators. Not Terminators, exterminators, alright? It's this lot. It's these lads, which I was printing at the time. Oh, I should probably say, those prints failed. That was not the fault of the person who's made these STLs, however. That's entirely my fault. That was user error. You know when you get excited about printing something and you think to yourself, yeah, there's plenty of resin in there, and then actually it turns out that no, because you loaded the plate up, perhaps a little more than was sensible, you didn't have enough resin? Yeah, that's what I did, and I have not bothered to do anything with it since, because I'm lazy and I can't be bothered. But now I have an excuse to clean it all out and actually do something, because these exterminators, which I made a video about, asking your opinion, just to see what the overall feeling was towards these extremely girthy, chunky lads. They are different now. They have changed. See, I went to download the file again because I had a clear out just after Christmas and I no longer had it downloaded, and I was very surprised to see something right here. This little thing here that says private. Sedivalle had made these private. They're not available on the store anymore. You can't get these anymore. And for a minute there, I was like, oh man, that's a shame. Has something happened? Have they been taken down? Is there like a problem? Because I really hope not. I really, really hope not, because I really like these. Now, the thing is, with that video, to say that opinions were split is, I think, a fair comment. Now, in terms of like likes to dislikes or whatever, which doesn't really say anything, frankly, mostly, the video was received well, but there was a definite split in the comments as to whether you absolutely loved these or really didn't like them. There were a few nuanced opinions going on, and a few people felt converted by comments like, this is what I'd expect Centurions to actually look like, which is a Space Marine in power armour, just in a bigger suit of power armour, which I 100% agree with. Also, someone said, what if this was like Thunder Warriors equivalent of Terminators, which I actually think is a really cool idea, a really cool concept. But in a way, that sort of becomes mute now. That whole conversation has become somewhat moot because you can't buy these from Sedivalle anymore. But there's a good reason for that. Because there's these now. And this is... oh, I love these more. I love these more. I have to say, I already liked the first ones. I really thought they looked excellent. And now, it's only gone and improved them, only gone and made them even girthier, even chunkier. These are some hefty lads, even by the standards of the previous hefty lads that I'd already bought. And you know damn well I bought these immediately. So again, it's Sedivalle, and I'm really curious as to what you'll make of this now. Because these were already somewhat contentious amongst the community that we've built up round here. This, I already liked them, right? We know I already liked them. I was all in favour. They're massive, they're a bit silly, but in the best possible way. These are, I think, a genuine improvement on something that really I didn't necessarily feel like needed to be improved. Like, there wasn't really anything with the previous versions where I sat there going, well, that's really good, but that could be better. I mostly just enjoyed the overall super up-armouredness of them and just how hefty and implacable they looked, even if the proportions are a bit mad. But then if you're just layering armour on top of armour, how do you make that look sort of sleek proportionally? You don't. Or at least I don't want them to look sleek proportionally. So these just came out of nowhere for me, and I love them. I love them even more than the last lot, and that's saying something, because I bought the last lot to print. But little things like the shoulders, right? I saw a few people who weren't a big fan of the shape of the shoulders. I quite liked them, but there was, in some ways, a lack of detail there that I wasn't really paying attention to before. But now, with that extra line for the armour, that extra line of rivets going up the centre, you've got that kind of like horizontal break and a vertical break. That adds a lot to those massive sections of armour on the shoulders. Things like the cables on the front, the fact you've got an extra layer of armour across each side of the chest. That is something quite different, and it totally changes the overall shape of that piece of chest armour. Oh, it's just so good. I think as well, the head has been recessed even more. Like, I'm looking at that, and I feel like that is buried in there. Yeah, to a much more extreme extent than on the previous version. Oh, by the way, worth noting, these are the Exterminator Ferratus. I'm assuming that is how that's spelled. How it's spelled? No, obviously that's how it's spelled. It's spelled the way it's spelled. Pronounced. I meant pronounced. That's what I meant. You know what I meant. That's what... Oh, dear. Anyway, the added armour, I really like that on either side. That looks really, really fun. The cabling going down the midriff there, I quite like the way that's been done as well. There is, I think, less exposed cabling overall when you check between the two, which, I mean, I actually quite liked the exposed cabling on this previous version. But having said that, I do think the overall, the overall armour shape I like a little bit more on this version, so it kind of balances out. And you do still have some of that exposed cabling on either side of the head crevice. Like, I don't really know what to refer to that as. Head crevice is not a pleasant term, good lord. The legs, I think, are proportioned a little bit better. I feel like they're a bit wider and they're not as straight down. It feels like the greaves at the bottom are a bit wider than the top, which is something that wasn't really all that apparent on this older version, but on the new ones, I think it makes it flow a little bit better. I think overall, there's little changes and subtle shifts to the proportions that, I mean, it still is hilariously chunky and wide and, just massive in every dimension. But I feel like there's a slightly better flow to these overall. This is also before we get into, just the fact that there's a few more bits of variety when it comes to the legs and the feet and stuff as well. So, as you can see here, the way they're built is slightly different too compared to previous versions. The heads, I think, are the same, but the overall structure of it is a little bit different. So if we, there's a little bit more going on. And by the looks of things, being able to pose the arms a bit more is a definite plus. Now, obviously, these wouldn't work without the shoulders due to the nature of that, ball and socket joint that's going on in the torso there. But then again, would you even leave the shoulders off? I feel like you wouldn't, would you? Something I do appreciate is that there is some detail under those shoulders, though. So if we go back, the shoulders might be covering, either side of the torso there. But there is sculpted detail on either side, so presumably if you were to angle the arms back a little bit, just enough to get a little tiny viewpoint into the gap between the torso and the shoulder, you would have something there. It's not just plain or blank or anything like that. That's a really nice little bit of attention to detail. You might never build one that actually ends up showing that off, but it is there, and that's important. A nice fun thing as well is that when it comes to the legs, we've got a couple of options when it comes to feet. You can have a big mechanical foot as well. So not only are we talking stompier legs, but also actual prosthetic parts as well. That's neat. That's just cool. I like that a lot. Now, admittedly, the weapons that I've bought for this lot, I don't have any of the heavy weapons that are being shown here. So the weapons that I've got are the Power Fist equivalent, the Lightning Claw equivalent, and the Bolters and Shields, but you know what? I am now thinking I'm probably going to wind up buying the scythes and the heavy weapons as well, because the heavy weapons look fantastic. And also when you got lads this chunky, you've got to load up at least a couple of them with giganto guns, right? You've got to do it. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. I am really curious as to what you think of this lot now. The last video with the last lot, there was so much interaction on that, and it was so split. I'm super curious to see if those of you who really like the previous versions like this just as much, or more even, or if those of you who weren't big fans, whether this change is doing anything for you. Because I really like them. I like them a lot. I like the originals. I like these even more, I think it's fair to say. But yeah, I'm super curious to what you lot think, again. And if there's another version in 3 weeks, I guess we'll just keep this going. It's not really the intention. I wasn't planning to do a long-running series of, okay, but the big girthy lad's been updated again. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.